When people talk about electronic music, it's usually about, melodies or sound design or like big emotional drops. But what if I told you that the secret is usually within the drums? Especially in genres such as organic house or deep progressive house, where the drums are not just supporting the track, it's part of the whole groove and are responsible for making the track move and the dance floor and the people there to really move. And very often, the difference between a mediocre sounding track and a professional sounding track, that you hear on labels such as Anjuna Deep, The Soundgarden, All Day I Dream, the difference is usually within the drums and how you program those drums. So, how do you make your drums sound like that? Well, it's all about spending time with the details. Because I usually say like one small detail, you might not notice, but a lot of small details will eventually add up and make the whole track. So in this video, I will show you 3 key things that you can use to instantly improve your drum groove. And make sure to watch all the way until the end, because I have a bonus trick that I will show you that I use on almost all of my tracks. All right, let's get into it. So this is a track that I'm working on right now, and I will just play you the track and you will hear how it sounds before I've added any of those details that I talked about. All right, so now it sounds definitely okay. You can really hear the potential, but I would say that it's a few key details that you want to add to really make the track elevate, to make it sound professional or like expensive. The first thing is to add some kind of low-end details to the drums. So here I have a couple of low-end details that I have added, and I will show you the first one. And the first trick here is to simply add some additional kicks into the drum groove. You want to be careful though, because my rule of thumb is if you have some kind of bass which is kind of plucky and you already have kind of aggressive drum pattern, you don't want to do too much of like additional kicks and double kicks and low percussion in general. So you want to go pretty easy with it. In this specific track that I'm working on right now, we have a bass that are, pretty, not aggressive, but you have kind of a plucky bass, So you don't necessarily want a lot of thumb hits or kick hits that go and clash with this bass playing. So you want to go easy with it. First thing is that I've added a couple of add kicks, as I call them, or double kicks. So for instance here, you can hear this detail here. And also over here. And also over here. Not something crazy, but just something to sometimes increase the groove and make it sound interesting. And then I've added a low tom groove, which really complements the bass, and I will play it so you can hear. Yeah, and you can hear it really complements the bass. So if we just listen to the bass and the low tom, you can hear it sound like this. So it's almost like a second bass playing. And when you're doing this kind of instrument, it's important to make sure that it's in the right key. So here I've already checked, and the original key of this tom is in F, and the bass is playing in the key of G. So what I've done is simply that I've transposed the sample to semitones so it plays in the key of G. So it really fits together with the bass. So now it sounds like this. You can really hear, as I said, it complements the bass. Not something crazy, but you know, just something here and there to really spice things up. And if I would have a bass that was playing a bit more longer notes, a bit more sustained notes, I would probably use a bit more of this add kicks and low percussion to really make a groove out of it. But it all depends, and you need to play around here. But a good rule of thumb is if you have a plucky bass, as I'm having now, and short bass with a lot of different notes, you don't want too much of these low toms and low end percussions going on. Next thing I usually add is the mid part of the drum details and the mid part of the percussion. And this is probably the most important part of the drums. So when I'm talking about the mid part, I'm talking about the like congas, bongos, Foley sounds, weird sounding percussion, you know, stuff like that. Things to really create a proper drum groove, you know. And here I usually like to figure out kind of a melody that the percussion sounds are playing. And I will show you right now. Here I've added a bunch of different percussion sounds. And it's mostly bongo and congas. And I will show you how it sounds with everything, and then I will just play you those things that I've added. Alright, so you can instantly hear that we have a bit more groove going on. And I will play you the actual drums, and now with everything it sounds like this. I can use that one. And I mean, you can really hear the drum melody. And I will play you just those mid percussion sounds that I added. I will put on the metronome. Like the dum dum dum, and together with this low tom also, so it's like dum 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 dum. You know, it's quite easy. It's a quite easy melody, because I think you should handle your percussion melody the same way as you would handle like a normal melody. You want it to be interesting, but you also want it to be kind of easy and easy to remember. So don't go overboard with this. And I mean, the main percussive, mid percussive instrument is probably these ones here. And also, these kind of main percussive instruments, I always make sure that they are tuned in the right key. So, for instance, this a bit more higher perc, it's in the key of D, and this other percussion sound here is in the key of A, and the third one is also in the key of A. And both D, A, and G, which this tom we're playing, are all in the scale of G major, which this particular song is built around, you know. So I mean, you don't need to tune all of your percussive instrument, but these main ones, I think you should really try to make sure they are in the right key also. And also, apart from this like main melody within the percussion, I've also added some extra loop to just fill out some empty spaces and make everything alive. And you can see this is nothing crazy, and you can hear it a lot, but it really fills out those spaces. And then we have some like fills or whatever. And all in all, the drum groove now sounds like this. And without this, it sounds very boring, you know? So this mid part here is very important. Third thing, and you guessed it, it's the high-end percussive instrument and the high-end drum details, basically. Here I've added a bunch of hi-hat fills, open hi-hats, and noise sounds, glitchy sounds, stuff like that. Basically things that really spice up the high end of the drum section. And I will play you the whole track, and let's see if you can hear what details I've added. Let's add this one also. Yeah, so instantly more groove and more, it's instantly more interesting. So I will show you what I've added. So basically what I've added is like stuff like this, some open hats like this, and I can play you just the high. So it's So it's like small stuff, and usually what I like doing is to pan, some of them maybe left, some of them maybe right, but you know, so you get like stuff like that. And also like this tambourine fill here. I put some delay on it. And also I think this part is really nice here that I've added, like this noisy hat going on. And this is basically a diva preset, and automating the decay time within the piano roll. And remember, these are just small details, but when you're listening together with the shakers and the open hi-hats, you can really hear it. You know, it makes everything more interesting. And together with the percussion groove. Clap, low tom, and a kick. can really feel the groove, you know, and all those small details that I've added really adds up and it makes the whole drum groove, you know. And together with the whole track, you know, it's so important. You can really hear it now. I mean, again, just like, let's just mute all of these details and also this here. Now when you've heard how it should sound like, you really think this sounds so boring. But it's easy just to end here and call it a day, you know? But as I said, you really want to spend times within the details and add all of this stuff. One bonus trick that I'm using almost in all my tracks, it's not actually a drum, it's not a drum sound, but it's almost acts as a drum sound, and I will show you. What I like doing is to add some kind of rhythmic arp, which almost acts as a shaker, you know, but more interesting. And I already have a couple of shakers going on, so I don't just want to add something more. So what I do usually is that I add some kind of rhythmic arp. So just listen here. This is just a preset from Spire. And you can hear it's quite tight, so it really acts almost as a shaker, you know, to just give some tiny more movement and groove to the whole, like the whole drum section basically. Because I already have a main arp, you know, this. So this is the main arp, which is for like the whole melody, but this is just for the rhythm basically. And I'm automating the cutoff on the filter just a bit. And I mean, if we listen to the drum groove together with the kick and the low tom, and then I add this rhythmic arp here. You know, it's a nice detail to give some more movement and rhythm to the whole drum groove basically. It works so well with the main arp also. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you want me to explain any part more in detail. And also, if you want some additional help, I have a mentorship program which you can apply for down here. And I also just launched my Patreon, so I have a bunch of different membership options that you can also check out. All right, until next time, have a good day.